It is what it is. But yeah, so Rita, that's right. I should probably go right into my little story. Yeah, yeah. All right. All right. So yeah, I'm blessed. I'm really blessed. So recently, I just linked back up with my best friend from when I was 17 years old. We had some years apart and shit, you know. Like, I ain't wanted to be here all them years. I had some fucked up times. I ain't want to bring her down with me. You know, the reason why we probably linked back together is we was out of each other's life for a while. And we went through some real shit, but it's all good. We back together, you know, just like we was walking through the hallway senior year. We good. But, you know, we're linking back up in this last year. I just celebrated 20 years out of high school. I made it, y'all. 20 years in this motherfucker. And, you know, everything they taught you and shit, you don't use that shit 20 years later. But, you know, whatever. Go to school, kids. You got to get that diploma at least. But anywho, linked up with my best friend for a while. You know, we could talk on the phone every day, lunch breaks and shit like that. But, you know, like, she came to me about, you know, 60 odd days ago and was like, hey, 20-year reunion and shit. 20 years out of school. So, you know, at first I'm like, I don't give a damn. You know, I only went to the school for 1 year. I spent the rest of my school year in this like same school system since I was like freaking 5 years old. But, you know, circumstances. But anyway, so I went to the school like my senior year. So, you know, I knew a few people. I didn't know everybody. But, you know, she's like, it's a date. You know, I wasn't going to let her down because, you know, I'm her date there. And she was in this school system like all her life. So she knew everybody like from, you know, back in the day, long time ago, you know, niggas was losing teeth together and shit. So, you know, we black women, so, you know, we overdo it for the reunion, you know. We gonna come up in that bitch like, you know, a real housewife or something, you know. We had the all black on and shit. You know, she had like a wrap dress and she's always had beautiful hair and shit. So she came up in that motherfucker looked like chocolate thunder and shit. And, you know, I had a hairstyle in mind and shit, but it didn't work out. So I kind of, my daughter's you know, she's a wigologist and shit. So, you know, I had to go run in her damn room and shit with my hair gel to my hair like a Lego man. And was like, oh, daughter, help me. Help me. And, you know, she brought out like her box of wigs and shit. These kids, I'm telling you, these motherfuckers ready anytime. Like, they could do a whole full-fledged production and shit. Like, she had a whole box of these motherfuckers. I mean, from blonde wigs and shit, made me look like Sharon Stone, fucking, you know, little short wigs, made me look like motherfucking Tony Braxton and shit, fucking Lizzo wigs and shit, all kind of stuff, fucking Barbie wigs and shit. She had it all. Shit was great. So after we spent about 15 minutes looking at motherfucking wigs, and I started thinking about occasions I was gonna use them other wigs for. I'm like, shit, I'm gonna need that motherfucker next year when I go on a boat trip and some shit. But anyway, we talking about for one night. I found this pretty crinkly black wig, you know, kind of reminiscent of like, honestly, since I graduated in 2001, it kind of reminded me of like, you know, like how Sierra used to wear her hair back then and shit. So like, not the nappy ass wigs, but when she was like, when she upgraded a little bit, like when it was black, and remember like Promise Sierra and up. So it was beautiful. So, you know, I put it on. It wasn't like install because it wasn't a lace front, but it was just a wig. So, and my hair was already slicked to my head like it's like a Lego man. So I put the little cap on and shit, you know, it looked like a thumb, you know, and threw that motherfucker on, you know, swooped out my swoopiest baby hairs, and I was ready to go. You know what I'm saying? So my best friend, you know, at the time I was moved a little closer to her now, but at the time I was living like motherfucking 24 hours away from her. It felt like a whole nother state, but it wasn't still the same state. So, you know, I spent majority of my day driving and shit, like going to get her, coming back, you know what I'm saying? You know, we ain't 18 no more, so, you know, we got to do shit as we get dressed, like eat snacks, you know, like we got to like eat some pretzels and have a juice and shit, you know, shot of ginseng. Cause we ain't, you know, you 17 and shit, you can run off of nothing and shit and like Gatorade all day. But we're eating snacks and get makeup together. My daughter's helping us out and shit. And you know, I think the reunion's supposed to start at like 8 o'clock or whatever. And we're getting dressed and shit. I look up and, you know, I just got on my leggings and my bra and it's like fucking 11. I'm like, damn. We shit, we gonna have to wait another 20 years because we might not make this bitch. But Anyway, we got out. We were gorgeous. Took a couple pictures and shit, and we're driving down. It took us about maybe 40 minutes to get there, whatever. And, I was dressed in nice. Like I said, my best friend was dressed. I had my little peplum jacket on, the titties was to my neck and shit. And I was like, that's totally different than how I dressed in high school. So I was like, fuck it, I'm going against the grain. I was still kind of a tomboyish type girl in high school. So we get there, whatever. It's like a kind of place where, they do different events. It's like a whole motherfucking like Bengali wedding going on there. It was wow, beautiful, like beautiful clothes, attire. But they had a goddamn U-Haul outside. And I'm like, the hell? Did somebody did they get their house like right after the wedding and they moving their shit in? I was like, because if so, I'm gonna join that, culture, because that'd be nice. The wedding come with a motherfucking house. You just gotta pack your shit up. But anyway, I don't think that was the case. But I'm looking and like they're carrying out gifts and shit. Like they needed a U-Haul to carry out all the goddamn gifts that they got at their wedding. I'm like, shit, we don't do that in American culture. You'd be lucky to get a goddamn fucking ninja blender out of, as a wedding gift or some shit, $20 fucking dollars, so shout out to them, shout out to their culture. They take care of their newlyweds and shit. That's probably why their marriages last forever and shit. We be up in a fucking 600 square foot apartment with a fucking air mattress in the middle of the floor and shit. Goddamn 2-liter of Pepsi. Some fucking ramen noodles and shit. Talking about I want to spend forever ever with you. How, nigga? We gonna die because we hungry. But anyway, back to this reunion. So we get out of the car. We look fly. We got little purses and shit. They wasn't Chanel bags, but we kept them clean. It was nice, So we walked up in that motherfucker, and immediately it was cold than a motherfucker up in that bitch. Like, we really went back to school. It was like wintertime. It felt like it. It was so cold. They had the shit turned the fuck up, and like I said, I had my titties out. I was cold than a motherfucker. But anyway, I wasn't gonna put nothing on to cover them. So, we walk up in, and clearly we have missed like a lot of the festivities. Like, they did like a little picture show, and unfortunately we lost some soldiers in the war. People that passed away. That was along the way for 20 years, and so we missed all that. We missed the food too. They just had like cookies and shit out when we came in. Like all the food was gonna have cookies and cupcakes and shit. That's all they had. But like I was in that outfit, so I didn't want to pop out of it and shit. So. Surprise, when you boop, I'm just popping out that motherfucker. So I really need no cookies though. And got a couple watered down drinks, and start mingling the room, recognize a few people, mostly the guys. Some of the girls didn't come out, don't know what they're doing with their fucking lives. They probably look fucking horrible, but don't know because they weren't there to show. So I'm just going to assume they didn't look good because they ain't come. But, a lot of the guys were there, and what's crazy about this school, it's like a time warp because like most of these brothers look the same. It was crazy. It's not like, and I love my brothers from my other school district, but they look like they might not look like they got 20 years on them. They look like they got a couple years on them. A couple of them got way back hairlines and shit, and their braids started top of their head, but not all of them, no, but just, they look like they done been through some shit. Like, it's been 20 years, so I ain't mad at them if your shit slid back just a little bit. It's okay. Could have been a girl, could have been your kid slid your shit back, could have been a job, I don't know. But anyway, these brothers at the school I graduated from, it looked like I literally just like walked in like 2001 time. Like we talking about like back that thing up, Hot Boys, Turks and BG. That was my year and stuff, and Rock La Familia. So it was like I just fucking like left the halls because they still was dressed like that too. Some of them, not all, but some was still dressed like they just left all 17 years ago. But anyway, yeah, it was cool. It's interesting just seeing people and, just thinking about our lives. Like we were just like 17, 18-year-old kids back then. We didn't have a care in the world. It was great. Just to see everybody and, hear about, showing pictures of kids and, all this stuff, talking about marriages and divorces and all kind of shit. Just, it was real cool, and like, but it was interesting because, me and my best friend, we get on each other a little bit, or get on ourselves a little bit, because, we not as slim as we was in high school, but nigga, the fat must have packed right, because the niggas that, they was on it. They was, not all y'all niggas could have been single, but, y'all was on it. And, it's crazy because it's like, I remember being at the school And there was like, a particular guy that I liked, and and not that he was real cool. He was cool back then. He was never mean or anything. We was cordial, whatever. And I liked him, whatever. And I think I showed signs. Now that I think about it, I ain't never just go out and say, I like you. It's not like today. These girls are real bold, but still at that time, 20 years ago, we still kind of wanted to play a little bit of mystery. So, but I think he knew I did, and my best friend knew I did, and we're all in a circle, and he said something, and I'm like, something 20 years ago, I liked you, whatever, and you remember I used to like you 20 years ago, and he's like, what? I'm like, really, nigga, really. Really, he held on to that shit the rest of the night. Like 20 years, what the hell? And he's looking at my best friend like, nigga, I've been knowing you my whole life. Well, we know who can hold a motherfucking secret. I mean, if I didn't think my best friend was loyal, that bitch proved loyal that night. Cause she held on a goddamn secret for 20 years, and she done seen these motherfuckers regularly, and she ain't never told this nigga. Even when we was in school, I mean, that's some faithful, loyal shit right there. Shout out to my best friend, I love her. But I'm just like, I'm letting them ride on that shit because I thought it was funny. I always think it's cool, like, now that, like, niggas that really didn't give you no time of day, like, they want to give you some time of day. Now, I had another nigga reach out on fucking classmates.com like that and shit, like, hey, what's up? I ain't seen you in a while. Like, what's up? It's crazy seeing you on here. And, like, classmates.com, that shit ain't free, so he had to pay for the message. Like, he had to actually pay for that message. I think it's like $1.99 or some shit. He paid, like, he took time out of his day and, put his debit card number in, $1.99, to make sure I got a message. I almost felt obligated to reply, but I didn't, because he couldn't afford me anyway right now. He only spent $1.99 for the message. But anyway, back to my reunion. I let him ride on that all night. Every time he saw me, he's like, damn, 20 years. I finally just said, fuck it before. If I said, nigga, you wasn't checking for me 20 years ago. I said it straight up. I was like, you wasn't checking for me 20 years. He did look perplexed, like, I don't remember. It was 20 goddamn years ago. I genuinely looked confused, like, I don't even remember. Nigga, this 20 years ago. He was like, I'm checking for you now, though, but it's all good. Like, it's interesting how you still keep some of yourself in high school, because, he still was cool. But, I'm in a great relationship. I'm straight or whatever, and it's all good. But it's just interesting seeing that how we change, because I believe, like, the reason why we get the responses out of people like 20 years later that may not have gave us no time of day is because people go through shit. When you're 17 years old, 18 years old, you just go for like physicalities and like like do a motherfucker play a sport or some shit. Like, you don't care. You don't have to. That's not your responsibility to think about all that other shit, like good credit and all that shit. And, motherfucker, like, if they mentally stable or, they got ugly feet and shit. Like, that's the shit as you start getting older, you think about that. You start really thinking about that shit. Is this motherfucker gonna die, like, before we get a chance to do something with our lives because he drink every fucking night? Shit like that. So, you don't think about that in high school. So you just think about being cool. But like these niggas now, these niggas, even the jocks in school, they done got out here and had kids and shit. They done been through women and shit, and some of them same, little women and shit that was beautiful and shit. They caused them problems and shit. And they get like to damn near 40 and they like, I just want like some stability. I want somebody to shut the fuck up. And I want somebody that can cook for real, and maybe somebody with some decent credit. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, so we can actually get some shit. You one or the other, So they different now. You get in their true form now. They're like, hey, so they're not looking at things like that no more. You got a little extra meat on your ass. They look at it as, well, shit, she keeps shit warm. It's just, they don't think like they did when they was jocks. So that's why they're a little bit more friendly. Plus, some of them niggas got a little bit more on their asses too. So they wasn't like, back in school chiseled and shit, Niggas is, fool. A lot of niggas is fool now, It's okay, though, because we all got fooled together. We all got fooled together. It's all good. But, I just think it's interesting. Like, it really showed me I'm going to be honest, I'm going to say this on the record. I didn't appreciate, the people I graduated with, because I only spent a year with them. But, now that I'm older, I do appreciate them, because just sitting around talking about the past and the, in the present, a lot of them did decent things with their lives. They all banded together. They still hang out and shit. It just made me wonder if I would have kind of held on to those friendships, would they have been helping me through the tough times? So, Don't discredit your school friends. You know, some of them motherfuckers be cool still 20 years later, but some of them motherfuckers y'all definitely need to leave alone.